silent if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution radio show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangade. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. What if you could live to be 120 years old and remain active, healthy, alert, and vibrant? Our bodies are made up of cells that are constantly rejuvenating. So if we take proper care of ourselves, we can literally defy aging. Join us every Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to learn about self-care from Suson Essentials on the Female Solution Blog Talk Radio Show. Learn how to help your body and your cells feel rejuvenated each day through proper nutrition, sleep, frequency medicine, and many unconventional methods of self-care. I'm Jodi Suson. Join me and my amazing guests by calling in at 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. We'll help you achieve a breakthrough in your health today.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Self-Cell Care, the Blog Talk Radio, the Female Solution. And this is an exciting day. So, we live stream, of course, on Blog Talk Radio, YouTube, and Facebook. And today, July 6th, we are also live streaming on LinkedIn. So we're so excited to welcome our LinkedIn family and share the amazing knowledge of our guest today, Dr. Frank Lawlis. And Dr. Frank Lawlis understands the power of music, shamanic drumming. He was the leading consultant to the Dr. Phil Show, and he provides the world with self-care and self-healing. He founded the Lawlis and PV centers decades ago. He created the BOD, which is the bioacoustical utilization device, which we'll talk about today. This device is used for things like pain, addiction, anxiety, stress, and so much more. He's a renowned psychologist and researcher and counselor, and he has more than 35 years experience working with families. So It's such a blessing to have Dr. Frank on our show monthly. And with that, I will add him to the stream. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Jodi?
It's always a good day when you're on my show. So the answer, awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you very much. I'm learning a lot. My daughter has been here this week, and we are talking about various breathing techniques. She's a doctor of physical therapy, and she's teaching me so much more about the diaphragms that are in our body and how they interact. So this has been a really good week for me to get stimulated.
You know, so Lucy, Dr. Lucy is, well, of course, as you know, you introduced me to her and she was on the show, I think about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And she's a bright light. She's so brilliant and a good person, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's such a cool thing when these relationships come full circle, right? So you taught her, you gifted her your knowledge as her dad, and now she's coming back and she's showing you what she's learned. I get chills thinking about it.
Well, I think that's the way society should be. We learn from our elders, and then we pass on information as elders. And then but the world is turning. It's creating new education approaches, and we have to catch up. And so we become the students after a while, and it's a blending of these different ways that I think really creates the juice that turns me on. To be quite truthful in terms of what I do, and so I do think that what you say, Jodi, has a lot to do with our being humans.
Thank you. You know, you may not be aware because there was no reason to bring it up. I taught, I think, 5 years, 12-year-olds for the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. And these were 12-year-olds who wanted to be entrepreneurs, and they took the program. I think it was like 9 months long. And we would teach them, you know, how to start your own business. And they came up with a concept, and we took it all the way to a competition. And you think I'm the one teaching them. And I'm going to tell you that's not the case. I mean, yeah, I'll teach them things, but really, if we're listening, they're here to teach us, right? Yeah. So today, why don't I let you tell the world what you have on your mind and what you want to talk about? I already know, but go ahead and take the stage.
Well, I've been interested in the epidemic of brain fog that has been brought on by the COVID, as well as our methods of dealing with the COVID. And I'm aware that 1/3 of our student bodies have lost a year of academic success. And I don't think that we can ignore that and just basically go from here to there as if nothing had happened, because we know that the after status of COVID, and like I said, dealing with these different methods of education have left a mark. And I think that the research on this has been kind of vague, to say the least. But I think the whole COVID thing has so many different symptoms and different outcomes that it's really hard to pinpoint. But one of the findings that I just recently read is that there is a definite neurological aspect to a big minority of people who've experienced this issue. And they've tracked it down, or they've tried to track it down by looking at various functions in the brain itself. And it's been not very helpful to do that, because it's, like I said, it's a vague thing. But what they do discover is it's not the brain cells themselves, but the cardiovascular network that gets inflamed. And
so they're not getting oxygen to the brain.
That's right, exactly. So in order to help these people, I think that it's important to address this issue with what we know about stimulating the brain. And it's not more study. It's basically the plasticity of the brain and the body itself that we need to employ to enrich the brain power that we have. And there's several ways to do that. And I'd like to explore some of those things with you today on the program.
Sure. And I'd like to add to that, which I don't think that most of the listening public is aware. So I think that the brain fog, the increased brain fog, is due to two things. It's not just because people became sick. Some knew about it, some didn't, right? Because some of us were we're kind of asymptomatic. But there's also, in conjunction with this disease, there was the rollout of the 5G. G stands for generation, the 5G network, which upsets the microbiome and creates brain fog, and which then makes you more susceptible to disease. And I had done a video with my boyfriend, Andrew Calhoun, right outside Jewel food stores in Grayslake, Illinois. And we noticed that the meter went up to like 15. Well, the EMF meter, well, it's not supposed to be over 0.01. And neither one of us saw until yesterday, when both of our brains were on fire. And I do mean like on fire. We were just like kind of crazy argumentative, and neither one of us really knew why. And then we looked up, and there was a new huge 5G tower. I think there were like probably 8 new sections. So I think, as we discuss the neurological aspect of COVID, we also have to look at, which I know that you would welcome, looking at what's the root cause of COVID, right? Which is the upset of the microbiome that upsets our brain health. And what are the solutions, and how can we also clear ourselves? So we can talk later about clearing our chakras. And I believe you have a very unique approach, being trained way beyond being a doctor. So, we can add to that. So where would you like, do you want to start with where would you like to start?
Being kind of an old professor, I'd like to start off with basically some of the implications of brain fog, because I think we need to recognize that a lot of us are dealing with brain fog. I think it explains a lot of the unrest that we have in the nation today. The fact that we have, I was just reading in the paper yesterday that we have so many record injuries and deaths from gunfire. And I'm not trying to talk about whether or not we ought to have guns or not. I'm just talking about what induces our brain to rage. Well, we have rages in terms of traffic. We have driving rages, and we have families that go into these kinds of arguments that are really not arguments. They're more discussion points, but they escalate. And this escalation, I think, is really frightens me to think that the whole world may become this rageful process that we destroy ourselves. And this might relate to climate change as well. So I think that I'm looking at all these factors that come into this possibility, and we have ways of dealing with this, and we're not looking at those. We're basically kind of just like looking at them from an objective point of view and letting them go their way because we don't know what to do. But we do. We have some methods, and
well, we have amazing tools, and that's just the thing. And so you make a really good point. We have so many tools in our toolbox. I think there's a couple of key things. Number one, people don't know what's happening to them. So they're acting in a way that's not comfortable. Mm-hmm. It's not recognizable to them. And so there's there's time that is going to have to lapse for them to even wrap their brain around what's happening. And then they figure, okay, what's happening is a consistent way of being. So now I know that's not something I want. And then you have to go into what are my solutions? And hopefully they find something that is healing to the body versus just a Band-Aid. Right?
That's correct.
You have, we both actually have solutions for brain healing. And I think it's more, I really do think it's not only because I've seen it. So there was a young woman, and I'll give a story that gives credence to using the BOD, right? You want to explain to people what the BOD is first?
Well, it's basically induces sound waves, and the brain reacts very much to how our brain reacts to the brain waves. And we are by nature rhythmic beings. So dance and music and all those things relate to this. So what I decided to do, and I'll have to back up a little bit of the history. When I was doing pain clinics, one of the things that I learned was that beating a drum was basically therapeutic to the pain itself, but also relaxed you and excited the endorphins within that basically helped heal the pain. So I use that a lot in the pain center itself, but I got interested in ADD or ADHD, as you want to put it. And basically felt like the same principle would hold, except that I couldn't beat a drum fast enough to get into the beta range to stimulate that. So that's when I asked myself.
Huge. You beat the drum fast enough to get into the beta?
To the beta range, is the beta ranges of the brain is basically when you can plan, organize, where you basically can is your best learning option. It basically allows you to organize your brain around particular focus, and so that's what you want to happen for your ADD kids. And So I asked my son who's electronic engineer training, and we designed and came up with what's called the BOD, bioacoustical utilization device. And it worked for ADD, and it worked for pain, and it works for phobias and other kinds of issues like anxiety and depression and a variety of other things that amaze me.
Well, you know, I reverse my food sensitivities with this. I use it to get rid of my triggers to otherwise heightened emotional situations. And it I mean, when I use it, I get out a pad of paper and pencil and I wear the headset, right? And I worked with my doctor, Dr. Michelle Kukla, started using this in 2014. And it was so successful in helping me basically do a reset on whatever that situation was, that when I went back into the workforce after being disabled for 3.5 years, I bought one for the house. And now, of course, as you know, I help you get the word out and advocate for people bringing these into their homes and for other psychologists to bring this into their clinics and to allow people to have the power of self-care, because this has been a lifesaver. I have to tell you, just to be frank, sorry, I just had to do it. People used to piss me off, right? So when I was on a phone call,
right,
there's what's it called, the bone conductor? Because I don't have it with me right now, but the bone conductor headphones, right? So it's a different headphone for people. And so I would be on the phone, and of course, this was back in 2017, and I'd be on a sales call or in a meeting or whatever, and they can't see me, right? Because we're not doing Zoom at that point. And I'm wearing this down at my neck, this bone conductor, or I wear it up here at the temporal lobe. And they're talking, whatever's pissing me off just goes away. So now I'm kind of like, easier. So. Well,
it works on the unconscious level, and it's approved as a medical device based on the nature as a biofeedback device, which basically is correct in the sense that you're participating in learning those rhythms, those tones that calm you down and relax you and make you basically have a neurological response that lasts. It retrains, as far as I know, it retrains some of the patterns of your brain.
Absolutely retrains the patterns. I mean, how else would I have a couple of examples. One, I have a client that was allergic or sensitive to pistachios, and he was at my office, and so he wore the BOD. He ate the pistachio. He wore the BOD, and then it took 40 minutes, 2 20-minute sessions. We took a 10-minute break in between. And in 40 minutes, he doesn't have any sensitivity to pistachios anymore. A woman who had COVID was left with a twitch in her lip. And she's a young woman. She was 16 or 17 years old, another client. And she used this and she wrote while she had the BOD on. She wrote about all the things that had her be upset around that situation about getting COVID. She was the only one in her family who got it. And why didn't my brothers get it? And like la da da da, whatever the chatter was in her head. And after 40 minutes, or actually that one took an hour, so 20 minutes, the twitch was gone, right? So it absolutely does a reset. So,
well, it's kind of interesting. In the clinic that you mentioned earlier, we basically hook a person up to a QEEG and do a brain map, which is basically ongoing. In other words, it's not like an MRI that you take a picture; it's an ongoing thing. And so what we do is basically use the VOD to see if it changes brain patterns. Now, this may not be consciously aware of by the patient, but we do get feedback a lot that they feel better or feel worse or whatever. And so we have some data to support the notion that there is a neurological shift. Now, I have not been witness to all the different kinds of approaches, such as what you mentioned in your practice, but I have to say I'm quite amazed at some of the reports I read. For example, I've seen some reports show that the BOD helps people who have trouble walking. Their whole body can't coordinate, and so they have some nature of which they can then walk again. I have some people that report that they have had strokes and they couldn't talk, so they began to have these kinds of improvements by using the BOD. Now, again, I'm read these reports. Some of these reports are not very clear, so I just have to assume that they have some kind of justification in terms of the protocol.
Well,
but
I'm just going to pipe in here. Let me give some clarity then. So Dr. Michelle Kukla was my psychologist, a doctor of psychology out in Palatine, Illinois. Unfortunately, she's not taking new patients, but if she ever does, get on her list, okay? Yeah. So she introduces me to the BOD, and I have pain. I'm having problems walking. So what we did is we put on the BOD on the headset, and I'm carrying, we would walk up and down the stairs in the office building until the pain went away. She's done that with many, many clients of hers. Many.
See, that's the protocol I hadn't even heard about.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. One more, sorry, because people need to hear this. This is huge. My whole health journey, and anybody who's seen this, I was a bodybuilder, put on 17 different medications because of a misdiagnosis and nearly died in 2013. So I'm back in 1996. I fell in the parking lot at work, and I tore my rotator cuff, the right side. And I went to a physical therapist. No one did an MRI or anything like that. And the person said the pain was all in my head. Well, the pain was not, well, first of all, technically she's right? So we know that, but that's not what we were talking about. Yeah. No, it manifested in the shoulder. But in addition to that, so I was traveling a lot because I was launching the debit card program for the United States. And I was having pain in the levator scapula. I could barely carry a purse, and I certainly didn't use a hair dryer for 19 years. 19 years. The reason I didn't use a hair dryer for 19 years is because I couldn't get my arm up to hold the hair dryer. So back then in 2017, I purchased my own BOD for the home. This is, before I started, working with you and even knew you. And I take it to a gentleman who does muscle activation technique. And it's a way to remove trigger points in the body using pressure, for those people who don't know. And what we did is He worked on the levator scapula, and we wore the bod. Now, mind you, he had worked that area before. There was nothing working. Nothing was working, right? It was neat. The cellular memory in my levator scapula was so deep, there wasn't anybody who could get anything to come out. So if you have a pain, so if you're listening to this and you have a pain that is so deep and it hasn't come out and nothing's worked, medications, oils, whatever, nothing's working. Well, medication you typically won't, but try this. So he worked on me to create a baseline first, to put my body in alignment, and then we put on the bod, and he worked on me for 20 minutes. That was in 2017. We are in 2021. I haven't had pain since.
In 4 years.
4 years.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And that's why I had to, I think it was 2018 that I had to call you and get to know you, because I wanted to know the man that had the vision.
Yeah.
To bring real health to people, to the point of actually making me want to cry right now, because the gratitude is overwhelming. I don't know if you can imagine, but I'm sure someone out there can imagine walking around in pain for 2 decades. 2 decades. It works.
And I'm glad it did. I've got a kind of a missionary zeal about the bod. Unfortunately, I can't give it away free, but I would if I could, because right. I think that this kind of methodology works in many ways that others don't. So that would be my greatest dream, to have something that I could do that. But let me also say that, like you said, and explained, there are things that thing can do that I don't know why it does exactly, except that it read patterns your brain stress somewhat. So,
and look at this. It says, Naima Latif says, this is fascinating. I'm definitely sharing this with my teacher friends who are urging schools to use music as a technique to calm children down. By the way, we actually need to go to commercial real quick. We'll just do a couple quick ones, and then we'll pick right back up. Okay, so here we go.
Hi, I'm Jodi Suson with Suson Essentials. I started Suson Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Suson Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Suson Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing.
Okay, we got one more here. That's radio, not TV.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
So a couple things before you and I pick up again, Dr. Frank. One, if anybody wants to call into the show and ask a question of Dr. Frank, it's easy. You just dial area code 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak, and you can ask for Dr. Frank. Also, I want to share a screen, and because it's great to talk about, this device, but how do you get one into your home? So if you go to Suson Essentials, you can actually, and I'm just showing this on the screen, you can get a BOD, a bioacoustical utilization device, into your own home. It's easy to use. It comes with an instruction booklet. It's got 4 knobs. I actually have videos on my YouTube channel that explain in detail how to use the BOD, literally step by step. So if you're more video, we've got that. And Dr. Lawlis's videos on how to use the BOD are also on my YouTube channel. And then if you're more comfortable reading, we also have a digital and a PDF copy. So the other thing, if you would like to learn more about my story and how I overcame my health challenges, that's also on the Suson Essentials website. That's free. So it's called Informed Choices. It was originally $20. It's a free digital download. And you can either listen to it via audio or you can read it via ebook. And you just download it and it's $0 to you. So anyway, I think, did I tell people what the price was on the BOD? But it's $497. And I believe that doesn't include shipping, but we can, I think the shipping's just a few dollars, so it's not anything expensive. And when you think about the fact that when I bought it with my health savings account. So you can use your health savings account or your flexible savings account. And it was $500 plus shipping, basically $497. And that was in 2017. So what is that, 4 years ago? Yeah. So spoiler, that's the cheapest healthcare you can get. So I don't know what y'all are looking for, but yeah, that's the cheapest healthcare you're gonna get. And it's not just for you. You can use it on yourself and your family. I have used it on my birds. So I keep the birds in the cage and I put it over the cage. I use it for my birds. You can use it for your dog, your cat, your horses. And you don't even necessarily have to put it on their ears, right? So it's a vibration. You want to talk, Dr. Frank, about vibrations, because I don't think that people really fully understand what that could look like and what that means and why it's so effective.
Well, I'd like to kind of change the topic a little and talk about the visitors' information about music, because I'm big on music as a healing factor. In fact, the whole world has already discovered that music is a very major factor in terms of our mental state. We use not only for remediation of other symptoms, but we also use it to fall in love with. We use music to become warriors and go into battle. We use music to basically learn. learns in better ways. And let me just tell a little short story that created a lot of interest in my own. First of all, I was in high school. I was crazy about music. I basically played several instruments. I played the baritone in the symphony band. I played the bass fiddle in country and western. I played the guitar in doing various kinds of rock and roll. I was kind of the version of Elvis Presley in some ways, at least I thought I was. And basically, I also played jazz. I love jazz. So I had a lot of interest in music. In fact, I had a music scholarship offered for me to study music. However, I decided not to go that route because I went on football scholarship because I got more to do that. And I also had some dreams and fantasies of becoming a football star, playing on some great NFL football team. But that's another story. But so I went to North Texas, University of North Texas, that has an outstanding jazz department. And I had fantasies that was induced by my band director to sit in, just take my horn and sit in on one of their sessions, because they had several sessions during the day where where jazz groups would come in. So I went down after a football season just to listen to them. And I brought my horn. And so I listened for at the 1 o'clock band, which is their best band, I guess. And I sold my horn. I just said I couldn't get close to that level of competence. So I gave up. I gave up all dreams of ever becoming a musician ever again. But nevertheless, the principals stood behind me. And as I said earlier, I was introduced to drumming as a rhythm for healing by Michael Horner. And I also had a student by the name of Dr. Ryder. And he was the head of music therapy at SMU. And we worked together on some various things that he knew more about than I did in terms of music. And what we discovered, kind of as a overview, is that there were certain rhythms that seemed to induce emotional states. There was a rhythm, Hawaiian rhythm, that seemed to induce romantic feelings. And I wish I had recordings of that, because I could probably make $1 million off of the recordings, but that is another story. Also, we found that there were some African rhythms that also induced fear responses, reduced fear responses. And there were some that basically were used in the military, such as marches, that they seem to also bring together a sense of union with other people. And of course, there were a lot of spiritual songs of many different nationalities that basically seem to bring us closer to our spiritual beliefs as a group. And
so I think what you're talking about is frequencies.
Frequencies, but there are also rhythms. There's different kind of rhythms. For example, there's this rhythm that you hear a lot of as background to some of the more popular musicians that I listen for. I've begun to where I would listen to Diana Ross and those kinds of background music. I listen to a lot of, obviously, country western music that had various kinds of 4-beat synchronicity. So I won't get into all the complicated ways that we experimented, but I decided that one of the grounding effects of music is not the melody, but it's a harmony and the acoustical network that goes on behind the music that seems to set the emotional tone.
The beat, the pulse.
Yeah, exactly. So I went about and I have published several different rhythms and combinations of notes that do induce various kinds of emotional states, and I put them on iTunes because they're pretty easy to access.
Can I do one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
one of the most important ones that I have to say is the heartbeat.
Oh, I don't think I have that. I have homeostasis right now.
Homeostasis is another one that basically seems to connect or coordinate the various rhythms within your body. You have about 11 different rhythms. You have basically rhythms that have to do with the heart, rhythms that have to do with the brain, rhythms that have to do with breathing, and there's many of those. And in terms of using your diaphragm and so forth like that, there's rhythms that have to do with your spinal fluid. You can go into broad perspectives in terms of how you coordinate those rhythms, and how you coordinate those rhythms is done easily through this particular kind of music that lasts about 12 minutes. And basically it gives you a sense of balance. I think balance is kind of the key word in terms of health as a whole. So that particular piece of music gives you, it has no lyrics or anything. It's just basically this ongoing rhythmic approach that gives you this kind of balance that you can recapture through the day or through the week or whatever. So this has been one of our best successes.
I'm going to do that for people real quick. How about that? Real quick. Let's see if I can get that.
You will notice that there's a rhythmic nature sound to it.
This is what keeps me calm, and I like to play this a couple times a day. So anybody who's listening can get this on iTunes. And oops, let me just turn that off. There we go. So you can purchase Homeostasis by Dr. Frank Lawlis. And it's always good if I know how to turn it off. I have that fat finger issue. Boom, boom, boom. It's Homeostasis by Dr. Frank Lawlis. You also have one that's PNP for walking. And do you want to talk a little bit about the other ones that you like, that you want me to share?
Well, I just want to point out some of these are very natural, for example, and come back to the heartbeat. One of the things that I learned when I worked with a Southwestern Medical School in the burn unit, where we treated these kids with pretty horrific kinds of medicine for their burns, and they had to go through it, is basically listening to a heartbeat itself. Gave them a great deal of kind of tolerance of pain and discomfort. And what we also discover is if you listen to the heartbeat, and it's just simply a heartbeat that we recorded, you listen to it while you sleep, you get a more restful sleep, and sleep is really important to basically digest what you've done the day before, and learn to readjust your brain while you sleep. I can't tell you how important that nature of sleep is. And in fact, if you get out of your circadian rhythm, which is the sleep awake pattern that we have with the sun and nightfall, is that if you get out of that, that creates very dangerous situations for disease. So
well, I want to share what I've been doing because I take sleep very seriously. Two things that we did in our household that anybody can do, doesn't cost you a dime. Unplug your Wi-Fi at night before you go to bed. It takes about 10 minutes in the morning for it to power up. I think we can all live without 10 minutes first thing in the morning. And that's number one. It's easy to do. Number two, if you are a coffee drinker, like I was, past tense, but you love the taste of coffee, like I do, I started drinking Ticino, I think it's called. It's coffee made from dandelions. And there's no energy spike, there's no crash. And the reason you get mentally acute is because you're flooding your body with nutrients, which is my gig. Number two, dandelions work on getting the gunk out of your liver, right? So you're not being wired. The gunk is getting out of your liver, which are toxins. Toxins naturally make you anxious and anxiety ridden. And so those are two things. If you're buying coffee anyway, just switch it over, okay? So it's now more money or less money than what you're paying now, most likely. And then unplugging your Wi-Fi. When I don't unplug my Wi-Fi at night, I feel it. I don't get a restful sleep. And actually, there's one other thing, and that would cost you money. I take frankincense, essential oil, in a veggie cap before I go to bed, and 1 drop of lavender. And when you look at the PubMed studies, there's actually science that shows that you can use these two things in lieu of things like Ativan, which is a synthetic drug, which eventually doesn't really help much at all. I mean, it helps in an emergency situation. But if you could take a plant or listen to music or, to calm your brain, we listen to your music before bed, right? So that we can bring our energy down, to prepare our brain, to prepare our bodies to go to bed for, as long as we can. I like sleeping. So go ahead. I just wanted to insert that because those are easy things to do. And buy, which ones do you feel, since you're the creator of the music, which music do you feel is the best for going to sleep that you created?
Well, I think, again, there's two. One has to do with going to sleep. It's the process of going to sleep. And my voice is on that particular one. It's basically a relaxation script that also is accompanied by a flute. Now, I use that to go to sleep. And the flute is the reason why I chose the flute, and I'm playing the flute, basically is a breath. It signals the importance of breath. So I use the flute for going to sleep, and then while asleep, I use the drum, the heartbeat.
Okay,
rhythm.
I think I have your flute. Hold on. Let me just play a short part of it.
This is a relaxation meditation CD to help you learn how to relax your mind and to relax your body. We'll take you through some steps that will be most effective in reaching new heights in health and well-being. My name is Dr. Frank Lawlis. I'm here to begin your lesson in self-relaxation. To begin with, I would like for you to be in a very relaxed position,
Okay.
free of distractions, free of...
So I think people can. Hold on. There you go. Oh, I seem to not understand the pause button, which, yeah, I understand it in my personal life. I just can't seem to, me in technology. I'll work through that. But I think that gives people an idea of that option. I also have Mind Body Solutions, Dr. Lawlis, and I think this one is yours too. Hitherset? Is Hitherset yours too?
I don't know.
Let's see. Hold on. Hopefully we're not playing.
Take a moment and settle into your chair.
No, that's not mine.
Okay, then what about this one? Oh, this is one of my favorites. All right.
That is, that's a rhythm. It's obviously just a rhythm. And basically what we find is my best answer to depression.
Well, that worked.
So you get you moving. And what I find that people often listen to this while they're driving because it keeps them, it makes them better drivers for one thing. And it also, when they get through, they feel a lot better because they're energized. And so I find that kids like this one of the best because it gets you kind of excited, and it also dissolves depression very quickly.
Oops, what did Okay, I'll stop now. So it's 7:58. We might as well just, since we're at a good stopping point, we'll run a couple quick commercials. And one of the things I'd like to, if it's at a good point, and we could do it at the 8:30 hour, we can talk about how to clear your energy, and you can teach people that. So at 8:30, why don't we teach people how to clear the energy after the 8:30 commercial? Does that sound good?
That sounds perfect.
Okay. So let me go to commercial. We'll do the radio one first, which means we'll do Zelda Speaks.
Do you worry about finances, family, health, job, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answered yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down-to-earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul, whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, reverse type 2 diabetes, publish a book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. To take advantage of the deal of the day, go to zeldaspeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's zeldaspeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit zeldaspeaks.com.
Jodi Suson of Suson Essentials is certified by the #1 functional medicine doctor on plant-based healing essential oils, which are revolutionizing the way we manage our well-being. Schedule today to take control of your health.
Suson Essentials leads you to wellness by giving you access to more than 20,000 sustainably produced nutritional products delivered direct to your door.
Suson Essentials is re-engineering what health looks like by leading you to the best wellness initiatives in the world. Start your coaching plan today and create a new paradigm of health. Click here to learn more.
Here we are. Yay. So for anybody who's listening in, a couple things. If you want to call in and speak to Dr. Frank Lawlis and ask him your burning questions, the number's 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak, and we will connect you with Dr. Frank. One other couple of little announcements. We have the Female Solution Blog Talk Radio every single morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And we have different hosts. So Monday morning was Zelda Speaks, myself. Tuesday morning, Jodi Suson, Self-Care. We have Naima Latif on I think Wednesdays and Thursdays, and the rotational on Saturday. And then on Friday and Sunday, we have Vieta, Soul Purpose Healing. Each host is so amazing, and there's so much to learn. And so I urge you to follow the Female Solution on the Blog Talk Radio so you can learn more. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow on LinkedIn, Facebook, the Suson Essentials, you can get notified as we air these shows where you can learn to reclaim your health. And Dr. Frank Lawlis is with us once a month. And so you can follow Dr. Frank and learn from him as I am so grateful to have been able to do. And so at 8:30, we're going to talk about how to clear chakras. And right now, we're going to go back to the other conversation. Go ahead, Dr. Frank.
So you want to talk about chakras?
Well, we were going to clear chakras at 8:30, and so we can, which is in 30 minutes, and we can talk about chakras before and clear at 8:30. We'll have 30 minutes to talk about chakras and clear, or we can continue talking about the beats and how we can create calm for ourselves and things like that. And of course, we can also circle back to how. Yeah, I think actually what I'd like to do, because I think let's circle back to how COVID is impacting people. I know that Dr. Michelle Kukla has been on the front lines and working with, the hospital care workers, but everyone is impacted by COVID, whether you got it, didn't get it, you could have been impacted because you lost someone like I did. You could be impacted just because your life changed. You had to work from home, or maybe you had to go into work and you didn't feel safe. All these things, whatever that looked like for you, create trauma, right, Dr. Frank?
Well, it creates not only trauma, but also just it creates some really blockage in terms of your cognitive abilities as well. So a lot of people are misdiagnosed a lot of times because of the fact that they have brain fog, that's not even particularly relevant to a lot of medical approaches. So I'm big on what might be called safety first for the brain, or brain health. And I just like to go through a couple of those features that blend into this. And this has my learning has a lot to do with the cultures that I've been exposed to and the special teachers that have come in and taught me. So I'm basically teaching what I learned. And I didn't invent all these things. These things just tended to happen naturally. So let me just share one thing that I want to get into, and that is toning. This was written a lot by Don Campbell, who died a few years ago. And basically, he used a lot of this for kids that had what we call premature or immature brain health, and were diagnosed with autism, with various kinds of ADD, and I won't even get into all the different diagnoses that he seemed to help just by toning. And toning is basically humming various notes. And what you do basically is find a note that from an intuitive sense of what part of the body that you want to get repaired. A lot of I used it a lot in my back pain program, who had serious pain, and obviously in their spinal cord. And what they did was they found a tone that seemed to relax. You wouldn't call it relaxing, or you can call it stimulation, or something that changed their body and relieved their pain. And the exercise that I'd like to share with you is basically to go through the various levels of toning and see where you might feel it in your body. So let's just this is a really quick way, but let me just do a tone, and we'll do a high tone. Okay.
So I feel it here all the way down to just above my navel.
Okay. So let's say that you had headaches. I would then probably say, let's try that tone and see if that relieved it. Now, it may be a secondary tone that actually relieves it. And that's what I learned from using the body as well. It's not necessarily something that acts directly on a person's problems, but also indirect resolution. And that's what I actually, one of the principles I learned from a shaman called Rolling Thunder. And he said, sometimes if I want it to rain, I don't ask it actually the universe to rain, but to allow it to rain.
Right.
So
Right.
that was the source of his magic, was allowing it to happen. And I think that this, what often happens with music, is it allows things to happen naturally instead of, we Americans typically are a very impatient group. We want things to happen quickly. And so one of the things I've learned is, through the principle of allowing things to happen, you have to give it time for the body to react. And that includes something I mentioned about the sleep cycle. Sometimes it's during your unconscious states that things actually happen, but they're programmed to allow to happen when you go to sleep. That's kind of a complicated concept, but
I don't think it's so complicated. I'll add to that. So before before I go to bed, before Andrew and I go to bed, we always do prayers, and we ask God to share with us while we're sleeping a download, right? What we need to do to serve the community, and how and what does he need to give to us so we can, serve the world in the way that he feels fit.
yeah,
We're just his worker bees, right? We're just the conduit. And so it's important to get deep sleep so that God can talk to you. So your body can allow the vibration and the messages to come into your soul. Does that sound similar to what you're saying?
absolutely. Let me digress a little bit into prayer, and I don't want to necessarily talk about spiritual beliefs, because everybody has their own, and I honor that. So I'm not preaching anything, but what I'm saying is basically what you said, and that is that prayer has two dimensions. One has to do with asking for blessings, and the other has to do with receiving those blessings. And one of these music tones I call empathy. Basically, it's it's a physical term that has to do with chaos, and it's a musical tone that basically creates a chaotic feature in your brain that allows you to listen. And what a lot of patients tell me, it's the first time that they've ever heard that they, from their source, that they were loved by God. And I would call that a love message, but that may bring some negative connotations, at least what I want it to mean. And that has,
you mean God is love, right?
Exactly.
Love. This is good. And let's not sugarcoat it. For the people who are ready to hear it, they will hear it the way it needs to be received. And if you're not going to receive it the right way, that's okay by me too. Do you? So go ahead, Dr. Frank. Be you.
Well, what happens is while you listen to this, it opens up a channel. It seems to do this anyway, for me as well as other people. And what they get through this open channel is a sense of great wisdom, mm-hmm. and great understanding, and like you said, a sense of love, and that can be very healing.
And the sense of love when you do this, and I'll share mine as well. What does this sense of love feel like to you when you receive it?
Well, I then have to talk about the fact one of the times that I died. I had this was when I was in California, and I passed out and was designated as dead. And my wife was called and told them to bring her widow outfit because she wasn't living in the same area I was teaching at that time. So my experience was one of great love. I felt like I was washed over with sweet love. That's all I can describe it as such. And that was obviously an important time for me to feel that way, because I was having a very stressful life at that time. And that is
were you then?
With me ever since.
How old were you at that point?
What?
How old were you?
I was 55.
55. So just a few years younger than I am right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I changed my life. I decided that being president of the university was not important. I didn't feel like that I was accomplishing my goal, my mission in life. And I quit my job. I resigned my job and moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico.
So thank you for sharing that story. And I want to make sure that everyone hears this next part. You are, first of all, you're highly successful, right? And you've made a huge impact on the world and continue to do so. And I think it should be said today that everybody, not everybody, many people will look at people at these levels and think, oh, maybe it's not attainable, or they don't think about the work that it took and the sacrifices people make to get to where they want to go. And my experience has been that any successful person that I have met and that I surround myself with have had to make sacrifices, have had defining moments similar to the one that you just described, right? And so if you're on a personal health journey and you're having to make sacrifices, know that you're in very good company, right? You're in good company.
Yeah, I've just finished a book called Resilience. And basically, it tells the same story that you guys got through saying. And that is that life is a series of challenges. Mm-hmm. And through those challenges, we learn wisdom. And if you don't have those challenges, you miss a lot. And I think that I've learned to go to those people who have had those challenges and learn from them to gain their wisdom. So in a lot of ways, I've short-circuited that, so I don't have to go through each one. But at the same time,
that's a really good point. So we can either have the experience ourselves and then gain enough wisdom to learn the rest through reading about it, talking about it, listening, right? Because we don't need to do all of it. Thank you. Right. The book, Resilience, who wrote it?
I did.
You wrote the book, Resilience.
Well, I wrote a book with that as part of its title. There's other books that also have the same title as Resilience that I didn't write. Oh. But and this particular book is a short booklet and where to find resilience within yourself. It's a self-discovery process. Mm-hmm. And so it's not published yet, but it will, because it's in the process, and I'll let you know exactly when it comes out. But it's more of a booklet of about 100 pages or so. That
I can't wait to read it.
It was very kind of an emotional book that I put together because people aren't really they may use the right word, but they used it incorrectly. Resilience is another physics term that means return to the same shape. It's like a rubber band. A rubber band that's useful returns to its same shape over and over again, and it's its flexibility that we build on this resilience. And it's the same thing in human life, except that human life, with each return, gains wisdom, so that it's more of a spiral of self-learning, of self-discovery, and learning who you are and what your mission in life is all about.
Well, it's interesting because, okay, resilience, returning to the same shape, kind of like a rubber band, is what
Yes.
the God does. It allows your brain to return to the same shape or to baseline, right?
Well, return to your true self, not to somebody else making you. One of the sad
Your authentic self.
Yeah, exactly. So you find out who you really are, what your purpose in life is, and then you get stretched out. You get stressed out and stretched out in your life, and you have to come back to where you really know yourself. And so you don't fight the stress. You learn from it as you grow older, so that you become stronger in your resilience to bounce back with your energy, with your power, and recreate within your known self new titles, new thoughts, new purposes for your life.
Yeah, because you have to release
Yes.
the energy that stopped you from doing that in the first place, which is kind of what we're going to talk about at 8:30 with the chakras. I will say, I'm also writing a book. Actually, you helped me title it. So I was writing a book on words, and you said, Jodi, words are just vibrations in the air.
Yeah.
Right. So that's actually the title. And I've been writing it since January 4th or January 5th. And this last 3 days, since we had that long weekend, I took all the notes that are in this journal that I'm writing my book in. Wrong period. And I started now putting it into the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was enough information in here to spur the rest of what had to be said. And what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm defining what these words mean, or what I think they mean. And when you start really defining these words and then pairing them with tone, which is a vibration and a frequency,
Right.
I'm praying that God will give me the wisdom to share what that can look like, how someone else can use these words and these frequencies to rise up. And really, I think that's what brings you and I together, that shared value, the goal of helping others rise up. So it was a blessing to have you here.
I'd like to extend that concept of word as vibrations that do have some effect. And what we know from some of the meditation techniques, Om is a very central word. If it's really a word, it's more of a vibration that is combined with toning, so that coming back to that same principle, that you basically can grow, you can regenerate various parts of our bodies, our brains, and our souls to more and more perfection. And this is I think my partner, Dr. Peavy, once mentioned that life is like a battleground where you basically come out of it, if you come out with more wisdom and stronger as you do that. And that's the way life is meant to be. We can't get away with just living life. Unfortunately, life just doesn't turn out that way. it has surprises for us. And,
Always, like a box of chocolates, right? You never know what you're going to get.
yeah, that's true. So it's not like you lead the perfect life. There's always something to learn, something more to expand to, and it's kind of like I think parenting is kind of like that. I explained to my children that my role is to go in front of them for a while, and if I happen to, it's kind of like going through a forest, and if I happen to step into some bear doings, it's not for them to step into it as well. They're to walk around it. And so in a way, they look at my life as also an experiment that they can eliminate some of their errors before they commit them, and they can learn from mine along the way. So it goes back to that very first thing that we talked about in terms of how we live our life as our own way of learning ourselves, but also of teaching the good ways and the negative ways. So I don't count every life as negative. Sometimes some people just get into a lot of trouble, and they can serve as examples for us, and that's usually the best benefit that I can see. First of all, I believe in love. I think that love is a healing power in of itself.
Yeah.
And I think that when I work with people like that have, I worked a lot of times with people with cancer and how they learn who they were through their disease. And then I also worked with a lot of people who were addicted to various drugs and so forth. And they also learn, and they taught how they learn through their life. So we're always learning, and we're never static. Each day brings us a new lesson.
Well, and let's talk about addictions for a moment. People who have cancer, a lot of times they're addicted to depression, they're addicted to anger, they're addicted to grief. And it's that addiction to that emotion that actually causes the cancer itself.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes. And yes, sometimes. And when I watched The Truth About Cancer, the docuseries, they said, you can eat all the organic food that you want. And I've said this before. You can eat all the organic food you want.
Yeah.
But if you don't take care of what's going on between your ears, meaning your brain, your emotional well-being, and you stay addicted to anger, addicted to grief, or addicted to resentment, all of those things and more, then your body doesn't really have a fighting chance. Because I feel that cancer can be mostly emotional. I really feel that there's a huge connection, and I don't feel that we've even touched the surface of how connected it is. And being that I teach people how to remove the toxicity from their life, and mostly the food, because I refer to doctors like you to help remove the emotional toxicity. The physical toxicity, it's real. It's all day real. And it fuels the emotional toxicity. It's just something for people to look at,
Well, I think that this is really relevant to what we're going to get into, and that is a lot of times the disease is caused by lack of energy that gets through to healing healing energy that comes too. And I've seen so many remissions, especially of cancer, that have come about through letting the energy flow through your body. And there's various ways to do that. Now, that doesn't mean, and I don't want to imply that people who die from cancer don't learn this or are somehow less wise or anything. It's just basically there is a generic factor that has to do with our immune system, but there is a huge component that has to do with our emotional blockages.
Yeah, the flow of that energy. So let's run the couple quick commercials and let's get started on that, shall we?
Okay.
Okay. So if you need a biological break, this is the time to take it.
Hi, I'm Jodi Suson with Suson Essentials. I started Suson Essentials in 2015 because of a personal health journey. I was over-medicated and put on 19 different medications. And yes, I reversed all my chronic diseases using plant and energy-based healing. It was amazing. At Suson Essentials, we support both consumers and businesses, and we do that with helping your employees or yourself with a food as medicine mindset. How Suson Essentials supports businesses and consumers is we teach people about a food as medicine mindset. So we support people on how to support their own immune system, how to support their brain health, how to support their emotional well-being. And we do that all with plant and an energy-based healing.
Okay, one more here.
I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata.
With a Place of Peace pop-up from Suson Essentials, you are able to increase productivity, mental acuity, leaving you with higher energy and peace in just 20 minutes. We pop up at our office or yours.
All right, so just a little tag on the Place of Peace. The Place of Peace is a multimodal approach using sound frequency, the BOD, pulse electromagnetic frequencies. It uses 432 hertz music and essential oils. And you, especially for people who have high stress and anxiety, it's amazing how you feel when you're complete because you just have peace in your heart. So for those who are interested in peace, reach out. Just saying. Okay, so let's go to another way to achieve peace, right? And that's through chakras and clearing those chakras and those blockages. Do you want to explain to people how you define chakras?
Well, let me tell you the story of how I learned this.
Sure.
Because it adds another ingredient of curiosity. But I was given a talk at Esalen, which is on the very western tip of the United States in California.
Okay.
And I was given a talk on shamanism.
Really?
The scientific basis for shamanism.
The scientific basis for shamanism.
Yes.
Okay, backing up and I'm all ears and I'm taking notes. So if you see my face going the other way, that's why.
Okay. Anyway, so I was sitting in this hot tub, which a lot of people do as they meditate. And this guy sat next to me and he said, are you doing this thing on shamanism? I said, sure. And he said, well, let me share with you my virtue of how healing happens. And so I listened, and he offered, he said, and I'll show you, if you want to learn. So I'm always open to learning new things. But I figured this was an old hippie, which a lot of people were, that came out to Esalen. And I figured he was going to give me some kind of stuff that he was smoking or something like that. So
he did that too. Who knows?
Yeah. So, but I was curious. And so later on, I went to his room and he had me lay down and he said, now I want you to think of some problem you have and I'll take care of it. And so I was having some gout pain at that time. Okay. So I thought about that, and I wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. I was just paying attention to how I was feeling. And I actually didn't feel much, to tell the truth. And I mentioned that. I said, I really still have the same thing I had before. And he said, well, maybe you're just different or something like that. He said, but let me come to your pain clinic and demonstrate this, because these are people who really can benefit. And I said, sure, whenever you're ready, let me know. And dismissed him, basically. And it wasn't, I figured I'd never hear from him again. Uh-huh. Well, it was about 3 or 4 months later that I was in my, I had 2 clinics, one in Fort Worth and one in Dallas. And I was in Fort Worth, and I had some really horrendous cases. I had this one patient that was a Navy kind of caretaker. And he had a crane that swung around and hit him right in the middle of his back. And basically, what the doctors told me, that he had these bone fragments within his spine and they can't get to him. So his future was basically, was going to be on pain medicine the rest of his life. Wow. And so he was either asleep due to the medication, or he was yelling at the top of his voice. So he was a nuisance. I mean, he wasn't a nuisance, but he was an irritant to me because he was always yelling. So I was in the midst of all this, and he was at the end of the hall. We put him at the very end of the ward, and he was yelling. And I just pointed. This guy, by the way, that I'm talking about, his name is Richard Pavick, and he also goes by Richard Rainbow. And so I just sent him down to the end of the hallway, and I said, take care of him. And after about 10 or 15 minutes, the yelling stopped. So I thought, well, maybe he just wants attention. That's what psychologists often do, is conclude with the most miserable explanation for success. So, and that's what I did. I just said, well, maybe he just needs attention. And then he was quiet for about 30 minutes, I guess. And then all of a sudden I looked up and he was dancing down the hall, literally dancing. And he said, the pain is gone. I'm a free man. The pain is gone. And I figured, well, okay, now how can I explain this? But through my own psychological terms, he might have hypnotized him and to this belief. And if that's true, then that's great. At least we have a handle on this pain, and we can just use hypnosis, knowing that hypnosis wears off in a little bit. So
It does.
it does.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it does. It wears off in about 20 or 30 minutes. That's the reason why the people on stage can do it and not worry about really bad consequences.
Wow.
So anyway, and out comes Richard, and he's happy, and the patient's happy, and so I point him to another patient. 30 or 40 minutes later, they're dancing in the hall. And so that was about the end of the day. And so I said, Richard, meet me over in Dallas.
Ha! I got a few more patients for you.
Yeah, I want to see if this stuff really works and whatever you're doing. And so sure enough, the next day he did, and with the same results, 30, 40 minutes, and people are dancing down the hall. So I said, you're going to have to teach me and my staff what you're doing. Would you do that? Because you're not going to be around forever, and I need to know what you're doing. And so he taught me Shin.
Shin.
S-H-E-N.
S-H-E-N.
E-N. Yeah.
1 E or 2 E's?
1.
1 E. Okay. Got it. Thank you. And his name?
He hadn't written anything about this. He was doing research. And I learned through our conversations that he was a millionaire because he was an engineer, and he had another common interest that I'll talk about maybe one of these days, which has to do with crystals and his interest in the energy of crystals. Yeah, exactly. And but nevertheless, he taught me and my staff the basics of Shin, and we used them on patients, some of which worked really well and some didn't. It was not the answer for everybody, but nevertheless, it was a very major one with regard to people who had cancer, because what was happening, as far as I could see, is that there was a closure at one or more of these acupuncture points.
Yeah.
And
Shin. Got it.
So that's what he worked on, was resolving that resistance issues with regard to energy, healing energy within each one of those points. And so now this gets kind of complicated, so I'll try to make this as simple as possible. So he demonstrated that in most cases, in 95% of the cases, the energy in our bodies, by the way, you can't do this with any other kind of energy that we know of. It has to do with our own personal energy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do it with devices per se. So what you do basically is you become aware of how to energize the magnetism between your two palms. And they usually go from your right to your left. So your left is usually your receiver, and your right hand is the generator of this energy. So you close your energy so that you can feel that energy ball between your palms. Can you feel that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, what you do after you feel that is you energize that ball.
Right.
And you can do it through imagery. You can do it through rolling the ball. You can do it through kind of a alternating feature where you basically make that ball bigger and bigger. So that the bigger you have, and of course you will learn that this has to do with your own breathing, your own energy, how you can do this in order to help other people. So that's the first lesson.
I do that to my birds.
Yeah.
I do.
So
I take what you just said.
Yeah.
These things.
Okay. Now, the next version is you locate the energy, the chakras. And basically, you have 7. Some people have 8. Some people have 6. But the average thing is exactly, you have, what's that, 6 or
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're showing here.
Okay, 7. That's it. 7 is usually the number that I use. And it starts, the first one is starts between your legs, basically, has to do with your sexual energy. And then the next one is between your navel and your genital areas. And that has to do with stability, especially emotional stability.
Foundation.
And the next one is above your chakras. And that has to do with connection, especially with anxiety. You get a lot of that.
Solar plexus chakra?
What's that?
Is that your solar plexus chakra? The one that deals with anxiety?
Yeah, I find that to be very critical for people who have anxiety, phobias, and those kinds of features. Then you have the heart chakra and the throat chakra, which has to do with expression of feelings. And then the middle eye, which is your, I get different names for that. I don't know quite what.
Third eye chakra, pineal gland. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And then your spiritual chakra, which is on top of your head.
Your crown.
Yeah, crown and so forth. So what you do basically is you use your hands to energize each one of those chakras. So now you keep your notion that your hands are creating the two energies between yourself. So let me just kind of give you some notion of these particular postures or routines that people go through. First of all, there is the prayer chakra, in which you are circulating your energy around in a circle. So a lot of people get a lot of spiritual energy through this particular routine. You can do that yourself.
Right.
Now, the rest of them have to do with, let's say that you have headaches or something like that. You might want to put your hands, one on the back of your head and one in front of your head.
Does it make a difference which one's on front and which one's on
back? Because what you want to do is you want to have the left hand being the receiving. So if you feel like that your energy is being contracted in that particular chakra, what you want to do is you want to press your right hand so that it goes through the chakra to the left hand.
So my let's say off energy right now is in the prefrontal lobe.
Yeah.
So I would put the left hand
right here.
The right hand in the back so it's received prefrontal cortex.
Right.
But if I wanted to do the cerebellum, I'd reverse it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That actually feels good too. Nice. Okay, I'll just sit here for a while.
Now, sometimes you can. Well, I don't want to. Let me concentrate on this particular feature, and that is the rest of the time you usually need somebody else to help you because you can't get your hands in the right positions because it's just impossible. So if you're doing this with somebody else, what you're going to do is you're going to put your left hand on top of the chakra area and your right hand underneath, so that you basically are going to, you can't do that yourself.
Right, you can't. You have to have somebody else.
You have to do that something. And so what you do is you test each chakra level with their energy. And those that are weak, you basically supercharge them with your hands. Now, you don't necessarily touch the body. You basically hold your hand approximately 1 inch above your body, so that you get a sense of that. Now, what you will feel if you have a low energy chakra is you'll feel coolness.
Really?
And when you energize that, you'll feel energy heat coming up or through your left palm.
Mm-hmm. So low energy chakra, you'll feel coolness, right?
Yes.
And then repeat about the heat.
If you a lot of people I work with have low heart chakras, low energy heart chakras. Okay. And so I'll put my right hand on their back and my left hand over their heart, mm-hmm. or around their heart. And basically it's going to be cool to the touch. And as I energize myself to energize them,
right.
You're going to feel heat coming up through your palm. And what you want to do and what you feel like is that after it takes sometimes a minute or two for that to happen. Mm-hmm. But once you feel that heat, you basically energize that, and the person will feel it as well. Right. Now, sometimes you can't put, especially when you're working on hospital beds, you can't put your hand underneath them. It's just too uncomfortable. So what you can do is you can slide your right hand down to another chakra, or in between. It's actually in between your chakras to get that energy flowing again. So basically,
one chakra, let's say, for instance, from the 4th to the 5th, you can use the 4th to bring the energy into the 5th, and you're not going underneath, but you're going from side to side, if you will, in the front.
Exactly. So, and let me emphasize this. You use your right hand between the chakras, between 4th and 5, 4 and 5.
Got it. So the right hand goes between the two chakras.
Right.
And if you're trying to heal the 5th chakra, it could be between 5 and 6 or 4 and 5.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Because the energy goes in a zigzag way up the body.
Mm-hmm. It does.
So that's basically the lesson that I learned. I have had tremendous successes. I can't tell you, I felt like that I was the Jesus Christ of the United States. And that's a really major problem, is that you feel like that you are the healer of all. And what happens is that sometimes that gets into your ego.
Well, I understand that. So I want to share something that we have 6 minutes left, so I'll keep it short. But both Andrew and I did it together. There's a man who's married to a friend of mine, and she called me. He was suicidal. And Andrew and I, from another state, they're in one state, we were in another, did prayers. We brought in his spirit guides, our spirit guides, and we brought in Jesus, of course. And we removed all the interferences energetically, and we brought in God's divine light. And we also cleared things between him and his mother. And by the time he walked into my friend's home, he was fine and has not been suicidal since. And yeah, you do feel like Jesus Christ Superstar. But I always remember, I'm not, and neither are you. We are the conduit to which he works.
We're the channels.
We're the channels, and that is it.
That's right.
And so it's very humbling because you're like, wow. And the thing is, what I also realize, at least for me, I mean, I do a lot of healing this way. But when Andrew comes in, the two of us together can channel God's will in a way that I couldn't even imagine.
That's right.
So I'm just going to say it's transformational for this family. They have their feedback.
Well, one of the things that stopped me was I was treating a 16-year-old girl with stomach cancer.
Mm.
And her mother would bring her in, and basically I would feel the coolness, and supposedly her doctor reported to her that her tumors went away.
Right.
And then they would come back. And then when they came back, she would come back to me. And I would give her instructions. I would talk about something to eat, some nutritional component. And she said, "Why should I do that? You're going to cure me."
Ooh, people need to take responsibility for their health.
She died. And I made a pledge to myself that I was not going to do that anymore unless the person felt responsible for curing themselves.
Right. I mean, you can show them the way, right? We
Yeah.
can do it for them the first time so they can have the experience and know what is possible. But then it's on you.
So I made a pledge that I would not do that unless a person had a plan for themselves, had a purpose for themselves, had some resilience within themselves to make something out of it. Otherwise, it was just a practice that I could do the rest of my life, become famous for a few people's healing. And so from that point on, I did not announce that what I was doing was Shin or anything like that. I would just say, I'm testing your impulses and use it kind of like a biofeedback, only it was more me feedback. You know, I want you to put energy in this particular chakra. Oh, you're doing it. It's very good. Keep doing that. So I was reinforcing the person to energize their own chakras.
Right. And thank you for saying that, because live the knowledge of using the hands to heal. Thank you, Yetta.
Yeah.
90 seconds.
So it looks like our show is ending. You know, you're joining us on July 20th with Jen Stennant, who's a psychologist who also has your bod. And we'll be talking more about this. She's very much into this. And perhaps we can introduce you before the show. Don't know if that'll work, but if not, please tune. It looks like I knocked myself out of the show for a moment. Me and technology. So I need to run the ending of the show, but join us July 20th to learn more. I would like to pick up more on this, and I'm so grateful. So grateful. And
Me too.
Thank you. I'm going to run the banners and the commercials, and I will be talking to you offline. All right.
10 seconds.
Maybe we'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll talk about humor too.
Humor?
Humor.
Yeah, I know. That's a big one, isn't it?
It's fun.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I hear you. All right, so let's see if we can do these banners real quick. Brands.
Okay.
Me and technology. Here we go. Here. Thank you for joining us, everybody, today. Thank you for tuning in to Self-Care.
We've come to the end of our show today, but you can hear every show in the archives at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Watch our TV shows, listen to our radio shows, order our books, and be sure to get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussion. And to our global family listening from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, Sheshe, India, Zanyaba, Japan, Arigato, Korea, Kamsamnida, Russia, Spasiba, Germany, Danke, Poland, Dziękuję, France, Merci, Spain, Gracias, Italy, Grazie, Egypt, Shukran, Ghana, Medasi, Nigeria, Eshe, South Africa, Liabonga, Senegal, Deret, Kenya, Asante, Israel, Toda, Pakistan, Shukriya, Afghanistan, Tashakur, Saudi Arabia, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you. And may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.